Rupa, Rima and Maya had been friends since they were small, long before the world seemed so complicated. Their bond was built on shared childhood memories, climbing trees, chasing each other through the rain, and imagining fantastical worlds. But as they grew older, the simplicity of their friendship became tangled with tension. What once felt like effortless companionship was now marked by sharp words, arguments, and misunderstandings. Still, deep down, they couldn't seem to stay away from each other. There was something about the chaos of their friendship that kept them together, even when everything felt on the verge of falling apart. It was a crisp Saturday morning when they met at their usual spot in the park, a small, quiet space near the edge of their town. The air was filled with the scent of pine and earth, and the golden light of early morning danced across the grass. Despite the beauty of the day, Rupa was already frustrated.
I told you, the shortcut is through the woods.
Rupa said, tapping her foot impatiently. Her dark eyes narrowed and her arms were crossed tightly across her chest.
For the last time, Rupa, that's a terrible idea. We'll get lost. We should just stick to the road like I said.
Rima sighed dramatically, clearly annoyed. Maya, okay, let's just agree to disagree. We're not going to solve this by shouting. I vote we go whichever way gets us to the cabin the fastest. Her voice was tired, though, as if she was already exhausted by the constant back and forth.
That's not how this works, Maya. We're supposed to have a plan.
You're such a control freak.
Rima muttered under his breath, more to himself than anyone else.
I'm not a control freak. I'm just trying to make sure we don't end up in the middle of nowhere.
Rupa's face flushed, and she felt that familiar rush of irritation. Maya, I'll follow Rupa's route. Let's just get started. I don't care what way we go, Maya said quietly, her tone softening the moment.
Fine. But if we end up stuck in the woods, I'm blaming you two.
And so they set off into the woods, the familiar silence creeping in between them as they walked. The trees stood tall around them, their gnarled branches stretching like fingers toward the sky. The path was covered in leaves that crunched underfoot, and the forest seemed to hold a quiet kind of magic. Despite the tension, there was something soothing about being surrounded by nature. It felt like old times, just the three of them on an adventure, even if it was marred by their bickering. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the air grew colder and the trees began to feel more oppressive. It wasn't long before Maya stumbled, her foot catching on an unseen root, and she cried out as she twisted her ankle.
Are you okay?
Rima rushed to her side, his irritation replaced by concern. Maya, I'm fine. I just twisted it a bit. I'll be okay, Maya said, trying to stand, but wincing in pain.
We need to get you back to the town, Maya. It's not safe to keep going like this. Maya, no, I want to keep going. I don't want to ruin everything.
Maya shook her head, determined despite the pain.
Maya.
Let's just get to the cabin, okay? We'll figure it out there. It's not far.
Rima interrupted, his usual sarcasm replaced by rare seriousness. The three of them moved slowly, with Maya leaning on both Rima and Rupa for support. It was frustrating for all of them, the slow pace, the constant worry over Maya's ankle, and the feeling of being lost in the woods. But they pressed on, step by painful step. The further they went, the more the tension between them seemed to dissolve, replaced by something deeper. The shared weight of the moment, the shared need to look after each other. Finally, after what felt like hours, they arrived at the old cabin. It stood in a clearing, its wooden walls weathered by time, its roof sagging under the weight of years of neglect. Vines crept up the sides of the building and the windows were shattered as though the cabin had long ago been abandoned. The sight was both eerie and captivating. It was everything they'd imagined and more.
Wow, it's even more amazing than I thought it would be.
Maya whispered, awe filling her voice.
I can't believe it's real.
Rupa's frustration melted away for a moment as she took in the sight. She hadn't realized how much she had missed adventures like this. How much she missed the thrill of discovery, of feeling alive. She looked at Rima, whose eyes were wide with wonder, and for a moment everything felt like it used to. Perfect, uncomplicated.
I thought it was just a story.
We should check it out.
Maya said, her voice filled with excitement despite the pain in her ankle. She was determined not to let anything ruin this moment. Together, they stepped inside. The air was musty and stale, filled with the scent of dust and decay. It was obvious the cabin had been empty for years, but there, in the far corner, hidden beneath a broken floorboard, was something that caught their eye. a trap door.
What do you think it is?
I don't know, but let's find out.
With some effort, they managed to pry the trapdoor open. Beneath it, they discovered a small chest, rusted with age, but still intact. When they opened it, they found old maps, yellowed letters, and strange trinkets, a treasure trove of forgotten memories. For the first time in a long while, the three of them stood side by side, their earlier arguments forgotten in the light of discovery. They had found something real, something that had been hidden away for years. They had found something they could share, something that brought them back to the heart of their friendship.
I guess sometimes it's worth the fight. Even if we argue, we're still here. Together.
Maya said softly, her voice tinged with emotion. Rupa and Rima looked at her, and for the first time in months they felt the old warmth between them. They may have fought, they may have disagreed, but they were still together, still looking out for each other. And in that moment, it was enough. The sun was beginning to set as they made their way back home, the cool evening air wrapping around them like a blanket. The road ahead was uncertain, and their friendship was still complicated, but they knew one thing for sure: they would always find their way back to each other.